Hey, hi guys. Okay, so we just did a two-part video series, and now we're going to go on to something else that's really amazing. Noelle Rose Anderson Kale, and this is
Jaden Anderson.
yeah. His legal name is Jared, but we go by different names we were doing it to hide from Q, and it worked for a little while. So yay us. But now we don't give a shit. We are who we are. We have legal birth names and we have legitimate legal performer names. And yeah, like you all do too. So we're not doing anything that regular people don't do anyway. And that's how you establish your persona and your you have a registered trademark for stuff, It's all good and legitimate and legal. And anyway, yeah. So we're doing another video series. We have been experiencing our skin bubbling up, and we did a pee test. We did another kind of test too, which you can get your own little test samples. It's not an illegal thing, it's a legitimate thing, and you can test everything from lead to mercury, whatever, and you pee on these strips and they tell you the amount of content in your body. You can get your oxygen levels checked and your heart and all that, very easy to do. And we did all these things, and this is how we figured out what the hell is going on. So, yeah, so we're suffering from nitric acid poisoning, we're suffering from methane poisoning, all this stuff. And we were experiencing all these really weird health things. The vaccines do work, and it takes the edge off of all of this shit. And my son right now, he did like an extensive research paper.
Working on it, but yes.
Yeah. And, of course, my input too. I have certifications in bioresonation, biofeedback, and a lot of other things. I studied chemistry, biology, and all of this stuff as well. And I learned a lot of this and really got interested in it before I had cancer, but I found out what cancer really is. I went to the cancer clinic, I healed myself basically, and I learned a whole bunch of really great things. I got certifications, and thank you to Mexico and all of our friends there. And I had a German doctor, a Mexican doctor, a Canadian doctor, an American doctor, and it was so great to see all these ethnicities and me working together to heal my body. It was an amazing experience. He was a bit younger, but you remember, right?
Mm-hmm.
Amazing experience, and I don't regret it. It was very expensive, that I regret, but and Q found us there apparently too. So yeah, their thing is if you start bleeding money, heads up, it's them somehow.
Yeah.
They like to drain people of their money for no flipping reason. They're just really mean people. So anyway, he's going to explain some things, and I'll interject here and there about nitric acid poisoning, and why our skin is bubbling and blistering and peeling, and why it looks like sometimes our skin just feels like it's going to fall off of our skulls and hangs all the way down to our knees. Exaggeration, but you can see videos where it's like my skin's all lifted and then I get around those toxins within minutes. It's like weird, and then within minutes I can change it again. It's like it's not an illusion. You can see right before your eyes. It's the stuff that gets on your skin, and it turns your skin yellow first, and then as it detoxes it becomes orange and it stains your skin. So everyone called President Trump a Cheeto and he looked orange. You know what, guys, it probably could have been his makeup, but maybe not. It could have been this nitric acid poisoning. And anyway, I'm gonna let my son take it away.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So the first compound we'll talk about is nitric acid, which is a liquid form.
Oh wait, can I interrupt?
Sure.
He has certifications in compounding chemicals, right? And he's a pharmacy certified pharmacy technician.
Compounding drugs.
Compounding drugs, yeah. So not only do I have certifications and knowledge, so does he. So he's an official and an expert. So there you go.
Okay, so nitric acid is a liquid. You find this stuff in batteries. You can find it apparently in wires, from what I'm reading. You find it in things that are required to be used for fuel and things like this. Now, nitric acid, this can be turned into something called nitric oxide. This is basically when you introduce this substance to I believe it was just like, I need to look at what I'm talking about.
Okay,
Just
let
give
me
a second.
entertain you. Look at this stuff, isn't it neat? Wouldn't you think my collection's complete? Oh, okay, I'm sick of that song. I just wanted to show you guys I'm still myself, my girl self, okay? And my voice is still the same. It gets hoarse though with this stuff because when it gets in your vocal cords and it goes after this area, you feel like you're choking, and it's really bad. It's really bad. But anyway, we were researching more of what nitric acid is because we were smelling like battery acid
Yes, yes.
in our room. So we were like, connect the dots, connect the dots.
Yeah, that's where I needed to go here. So, yeah, it basically, nitric acid touched copper, and it creates the smell of what's identified as battery acid. When it heats up, it basically creates like a gas, and that is the gas, and it has a smell. It smells like battery acid.
Yeah, it's
Which means technically nitric acid is not what we're smelling. We're smelling something more complex than that, which is basically nitric oxide. And by default, nitric oxide, when it's introduced to oxygen, it becomes nitrogen oxide, or nitrogen dioxide, sorry.
Dioxide.
Dioxide.
Very good.
So basically, this is a poison. It is classified as a poison. Nitrogen dioxide is classified.
Dioxide.
I'm trying to stop it.
I'm sorry.
Nitrogen dioxide is classified as a poison, and also as, I believe, an oxidizers. Let me look. What is that term that they're using here?
It can oxidize. It could be an extreme oxidizer.
Yeah, that's the term they're using here.
It's very, very caustic and bad for you.
It's used to basically burn fuel. It's, I believe, nitric acid and nitric oxide is used to help things combust. It's also, some of these elements are used to make, was it nitroglycerin? The stuff in TNT, basically. And it's used in rocket fuel.
9/11? I didn't say that. Go ahead.
It comes out of the exhaust pipe of cars. If you think about gasoline, theoretically, if you pour this stuff, nitric acid, into gasoline, actually I think it would explode, but if there's some other element that can just kind of turn it into nitrogen dioxide. And basically, we found articles on this. Apparently, the Germans checked this out. The AP was talking about it.
Yay, Germans! Thank you, my homies.
Yeah, the AP talked about it. They basically said that they were looking into the stuff coming out of the cars and tailpipes, specifically identifying it as nitrogen dioxide, and it was causing health problems to people. And this was 2 years ago, 2018, by the way, that they did this.
Do you think they're trying to take credit away from our hard work, though?
I don't know. I figure we can use it as a reference for our hard work.
Oh, and build upon it. So we believe that this is being intentionally done by the Q group to commit a genocide, in a sense.
Yeah, because...
And sterilization, too. It's very bad.
Because here's the thing. We've been having symptoms of exposure to this stuff. The skin thing where it turns yellow and then orange, that's one of those things.
Look, we're orange.
Exposure to it can cause respiratory internal damage, starting with a smaller amount would cause things like a cough, and then other worse things would cause like death.
This is why we're concerned, okay? We don't want to be left out here like this.
Yeah, my report thing I'm making will have a lot more details about what it does. I'm basically just looking at Wikipedia, looking at my knowledge and some articles, and I basically shove it all together. And then, of course, we have this practical things that we're seeing that are a great example. Like the story that we're using as an example that really tipped us off. The smell that comes from the stuff was coming through the AC over here, and it started raining outside right before that.
And we smelled outside the battery acid smell, and we weren't in a car or around a car. and it was coming through the windows too. You could smell it.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the copper thing.
Yeah, apparently it has a chlorine-like smell.
It can, yeah.
It's described as that, so I also smell it as a battery acid smell, and this stuff is apparently very bad. It was coming through, we were starting to have some symptoms of being exposed to it, and basically we turned off the air conditioner.
And then miraculously we started feeling better.
Now
and
why,
better.
yeah, now we have to wonder, why would the air conditioner contribute to it? Basically, nitric acid is in the rain. Nitric acid is basically the liquid form of nitric whatever, the battery acid. How does it get into the rain? Basically, airborne pollutants like
Airplanes dispensing it out of their asses.
yeah, like nitrogen dioxide and nitric oxide can go into the air, expose itself to clouds and water and stuff like that, and it will basically turn back into nitric acid, basically.
Yeah, there's something in compounding which he taught me, but I knew too, and I actually taught him, and it was reinforced when he went to school. When you take one element and then take another element and combine them, it comes out as a third. It's a form of laundering. You understand that? So like my intellectual property is stolen, it's taken to another country, and then delved out there at the other country, and then it comes back to the United States in another form, and then we see it on TV and we're like, WTF. That's a form of laundering intellectual property, and it's like making it clean of its trail. So this isn't quite laundering, but it kind of connects the dots if you think along those terms, right? So when you compound, you're taking one element, adding another element, and coming out with a third final product, or sometimes there could be 4 steps, right? And so when you have nitric acid and it passes through air conditioning coils, which are most likely copper, you're going to come out with something very noxious. So you see, it kind of launders the trail effect. In other words, so somebody's putting intentionally a toxin outside, through the rain it comes through the air conditioning coils and causes another element, and that element is the dioxide version and form of it, but it has to go through this process, and that is why I'm calling that laundering. Actually, it's compounding, but the intention for this would have to be laundering, trying to hide the trails of where it's really originating from. And if you know nothing about chemistry, you wouldn't think like we just did to figure it out. And we were smelling this because our stuff, we have a device. I won't say what it is. But we have a device.
Basically, there's copper involved.
Mm-hmm.
There's water involved. There's also basically nitric acid involved. And then it got heated. It created a smell.
And it's the same smell we're smelling.
Yeah, and it just kind of clicked. Basically, we accidentally created a little bit of nitrogen dioxide.
Yeah, but we didn't do it. It was because of everything that's in the air around us getting on this thing.
Yeah.
And, we have a small little battery to operate this little device. It's a legitimate device. Anybody can buy it, and we don't want to say what it is, but because we don't want evil people to know what we have. Even though it doesn't matter if they did, but we just don't feel like telling everybody. But because we've been overwhelmed with these toxins in here, it got on this device, and it got on the copper, and then we're like, what is that smell, and why is this happening?
Most likely it was the physical form of nitric acid when it dries out, and it gets reactivated with water back into nitric acid, and then nitric acid touches the copper, and then out comes nitric oxide. And then
dioxide.
No. Nitric oxide immediately turns into nitrogen dioxide when it touches oxygen.
Oh.
Which is in this room.
Okay, so you can't get rid of it by depriving oxygen, but it would, because if we don't have oxygen here, we're gonna die.
Yeah, so back to the example of the air conditioner. Nitric acid rain, it basically goes into the air conditioner with copper. Mm-hmm. The copper and the nitric acid make contact, out comes immediately nitric oxide, but it exists for maybe a split second because it's already turning into nitrogen dioxide, and it's being blown in here because it's basically a fan.
Right. So we need to make sure that that article, that the German version, AP News, didn't just do it recently, basing it on our hard research. I don't want to falsely accuse, but that's kind of strange. So yeah, we'll use that to support our materials now.
Yeah.
But we will find out and authenticate the certificate and make sure that that wasn't, backdated as a false date because they're trying to take credit from us, because we've been suffering this. But, hopefully it's a legitimate thing. But I find that a little strange and coincidental, don't you?
Yeah.
But, I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, that people have been poisoning us through the tailpipes. Why is it in here? So I don't trust it completely. You know what I'm saying?
It is fine.
I mean, it supports what we're saying, but these people better not be trying to take credit from us because they want to get credit from us. Hopefully they're doing it to support us. You see what I'm saying? But sorry, guys. It's just that we've gone through such a horrible process recently that we don't trust anybody. And that's terrible, but can you blame us? I mean, look at what's been done to us. So maybe they're trying to help.
We'll find out.
We'll find out.
But, yeah.
But it doesn't take away from us or our story by any means. Because we've been documenting everything.
Yeah. So that's how it works. And it was being blown right in here.
And nobody else has done this research like we have, so, we own it.
So, which I've also figured out why people freak out with the rain. It basically dries up into the solid dust, dried out version of carbon.
Yeah, it leaves a white ring.
Yeah, I forgot what the term was. It's very complicated, but it dries out into the white stuff, and apparently you can reactivate it back into either nitric acid or something, and it becomes airborne particles.
Yeah, so what we've been seeing too after the rain, we have a lot of people that use, those leaf blowers, and they use it around us, and we have video. We were in a parking lot at a grocery store, and this guy was blowing the leaf blower after the rain, and it's all dried up at our car and other people's cars. And I'm like, we reported it to the manager, and we reported it on our Twitter feed and everything, because it's kind of bullshit. And it's toxic, and I'm like, what are you doing? There are no leaves here. You're just blowing dirt around. And, it's a gas-run thing. And so then you have the gasoline, which is also tainted too. So I'm like, I think that needs to be outlawed. I think, especially because there's supposedly a gas crisis. And so why don't they ban leaf blowers and all of these, supposed recreational, parks and recreational vehicles to not be able to be run right now? It's bad enough we have cars doing it, but, how about you stop running those? And it's so funny, we have video footage. It's like, you just mowed the lawn at President's Park, in D.C., a day ago, and we have it on video, and you're here doing it again, and you're only doing it where we are. Methinks somebody is purposely trying to instigate something, hoping that all that stuff gets blown up. And then they were doing some weird thing, and we have on video the last time we were there, just blowing out all of this sod seed and dust. And it's like, that is not proper protocol. And it was done by where we were, and they did it in front of these kids too. And I'm like, holy shit, that's not to code.
Yeah, there were 2 different instances too.
Yeah. I mean, in California, Las Vegas, you have to actually wet it down. You just can't blow this shit all over the place. It's very caustic.
Yeah.
And nothing of this sort was done when we first arrived in DC for the first, 4 days, and then all of a sudden we're there, and then the park is now being populated with these extras, and they're doing all these stunts around us, trying to instigate things, trying to make us jealous. And I'm like, oh my god, we have it all on video. But the same thing that was happening to us in Los Angeles moved to DC, and every place we go it's like that. If we're there for longer than 5 days, all of a sudden here comes the show. And you can see the difference because we video everything, and it's like all of a sudden all this stuff's happening. But back to nitric acid. Go ahead.
Oh, that's it.
Oh, that's it. We're done. Okay.
Yeah.
This was one part video.
That's all.
Yay for us. So we have now published this in many ways on social media. that this is being done to us. We now have documentation of other people doing some research on it, and we're going to check and make sure it's legit. If it is, guys, we're fine with that. That just helps our story more. If it's not, back off, because it's like we're doing the research. We love you guys, AP News. You've been good to us, but watch it. We're watching you. So let's work together, and until we know more, we're just going to assume. Because they did that really good story on me, even though they used those awful pictures. I'm like, I don't look like that.
Which, we know some stuff about the contract.
Yeah. So they owe us big time. We're holding them to it. We're being cool with them, and I think they'll be cool with us. But, we're not pussies by any means.
Well, considering that there's an business entity bigger than them, that was supposedly one of the worst bad guys that are actually cool with us now for some strange reason.
I know, it's so cool. We have a way of turning people's hearts around. Either they're really scared that we're going to sue the shit out of them, or they do have their human hearts still alive, and they're like, oh, they make good sense. Yeah, let's get on their boat because they're going to sink everybody else.
Yeah, so advice to the other business companies. Your so-called bigger leaders in the corporate world are ditching you guys if you guys don't get on our boat at this rate.
Yeah, just a little inside tip there. We kept saying, how many times have you seen me do this little modern dance thing? This is like a boat and us pushing it, we're trying to be cute. And I'm a dancer, so I come alive when I'm dancing, and I come alive when I'm speaking the truth and fighting for you guys. But do you see why they want to embellish this and make it last longer and really milk it? Because they really want to sink the bad guys. And I don't blame them. I do too. But I don't want to purposely, intentionally have to suffer more. It's like, come on. They're buying their time, Okay, guys, go get vaxxed. Go get your COVID vaccine. It does work. But, just try not to stay around this stuff too much because, just don't push it. What else? Yeah, guys, we also think that most of the Q third parties are the ones that haven't gotten vaxxed yet.
Some kind of strange loyalty thing, I think.
Not only that, but if the Qs found out that they were getting vaccinated, they might harm them or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's, that's that too. And, hey, third party Q minions jump on our boat too. We already had some people that jumped on our boat because they were basically witnessing and said, yeah, for a living, I purposely, not me, but they purposely make accidents, auto accidents happen. Remember how we were saying both accidents look staged to us, and all these recent ones too? Mm-hmm. We have testimony now. Yep. So I'm sure we can find more. So, it's always best to jump on the real good guy's boat, and we're doing everything legitimately because we don't want anything to bite us in the ass. We don't want anything to bite whoever's on our boat in their asses either. We don't backstab. Okay, if you pull shit with us, then that's a deal breaker. Obviously, if you want us to purposely stay out in the field and we're not soldiers, come on. I'm going to do another video about that in a second. Okay, we're done?
Yeah.
Good job. Good job. Yay for us.
Yes.
Okay, bye.